By 1965, the reinvention of 50s rank matinee idol Dirk Bogarde as a serious actor in subversive British films was well underway. Bogarde had been hugely popular in such genre movies of the 50s as Basil Dearden's The Blue Lamp, playing a thug who gunned down Jack Warner's PC George Dixon, Philip Leacock's Appointment in London as an RAF officer in charge of a squadron of Lancaster bombers, and most successfully of all as Simon Sparrow in Ralph Thomas's Doctor in the House and 3 of the sequels. But in 1961, he went out on a limb, taking on the role of Melville Farr, a rising young barrister who is secretly homosexual, in Dearden's Victim, and followed this with 2 films with American émigré director Joseph Losey, The Servant in the title role with James Fox as the master, and King and Country, a First World War drama defending Tom Courtenay accused of desertion, both of which, like Victim, were attacks on the British establishment. Then in 1964, John Schlesinger, a rising young director of the British New Wave, who had been acclaimed for his first 2 films, A Kind of Loving and Billy Liar, cast Bogarde as one of Julie Christie's 3 lovers in Darling. Lauded at the time of its release, Darling brought Academy Awards for Julie Christie as Best Actress, Frederick Raphael for Best Screenplay, and Julie Harris for Best Costume Design, together with nominations as Best Picture and for Schlesinger as Best Director. Although not nominated for an Oscar, Bogarde won the British Academy Award for Best Actor. But subsequently, John Schlesinger renounced the film as a failure, and the critical consensus appears to be that it was very much of its time and that it has not worn well. However, I think it's time for a re-evaluation of this bitter, acerbic satire of the superficiality of 60s culture, and also of Bogarde's performance, which I rate as one of his best. Bogarde plays Robert Gold, a BBC journalist covering cultural issues, who first encounters Christie's Diana Scott, an aspiring model and actress, while making a short vox pop on the topic of convention. They are both married and both dissatisfied with their relationships and their lives. He is 20 years her senior. An affair begins which rapidly leads to them each walking out on their spouse and moving in together. But before long, Diana is bored again, and Bogarde's Robert discovers that she has been cheating on him with suave but cold advertising executive Miles Brand, played by Lawrence Harvey. He tracks her to an art opening for artist Ralph Riggs, intent on confronting her with evidence of her infidelity. I think there are certain rules to creating a really good row in a drama. Firstly, the participants need to be evenly matched. If one is intimidated or cowed, then it's really just domestic abuse.
You've been acting very strangely lately, my fine lady, and I'm not going to stand for it.
Yeah, and so what?
So what? I'm the works around here, and I'll give you orders what to do.
Who do you think you're talking to? That first wife of yours out in Montana?
Now you leave her out of this.
That poor mealy-faced thing with a flat chest that didn't have nerve enough to talk up to
Shut
you?
up.
Washing out your greasy overalls and cooking and slaving in some lousy mining shack? No wonder she died.
Say, I'll sock you in a minute.
Secondly, it needs to have been building for some time.
Skulle jag vara något surrogat för din mamma? Var aldrig annat än det tjat om att jag försummade hemmet, att jag lät mitt yrke gå i första hand.
Det är verkligen inte sant!
Jo, det är verkligen sant! Jag hörde aldrig annat i första åren av vårt äktenskap. Och det enda att ni...
Thirdly, it needs to involve some really creative insults that the perpetrators know will hit home.
Around with the gin running out of your mouth, you can humiliate me, you can tear me to pieces all night. That's perfectly okay, that's all right.
You can stand it.
I cannot stand it!
You can stand it. You married me for it.
You're being so much like...
And finally, it also helps if you know the participants do actually love each other, or at least did so formally.
Everything you're complaining about her, you're doing. You're suffocating Henry.
First of all, I love my mother. She was a wonderful mother.
Just repeating what you told me.
Secondly, how dare you compare my mothering to my mother? I may be like my father, but I am not like my mother.
You are! And you're like my father. You're also like my mother. You're all the bad things about all of these people.
Dirk Bogarde certainly had form when it came to screen rows. As one half what was in effect the married couple in The Servant, Barrett to James Fox's Tony, he relished the dishing out of home truths.
Stand for any more of this.
Take your pigsty somewhere else.
It's not my pigsty, it's yours.
You creep.
Nobody talks to me like
Do you know what you are?
I know all about your sort.
You're a peasant.
Peasant, am I? Get out of the way, I'll show you what I am. I'll tell you what I am. I'm a gentleman's gentleman, and you're no bloody gentleman.
The row in Darling is a four-part affair, cunningly compressed by Schlesinger into less than 4 minutes by the use of ellipses. Part 1 is the art gallery, where Bogarde's Robert conceals under an icy calm his rage and jealousy, which manifests itself through his little mocking echoes of Diana's blithe mendacity.
When did you get in?
This afternoon. I'm exhausted.
This afternoon.
Yes, naturally, of course.
Yes, naturally, of course.
Look at him. Don't you think he's tremendously talented?
About the job, how did that go?
Tremendous fire. What job?
The job you went to Paris to see about.
Oh, I had to do a test for Raoul Maxime. He's a tremendous talent, Raoul. There's no one in England to beat these new French directors.
Tremendous fire.
Yes, I think so. Tremendous.
Part 2 takes place on the street, where Bogarde unleashes his shocking epithet.
What do you mean?
That's what you are, isn't it? A little whore, isn't it? You've been back from Paris 2 days already. No, if you don't want me to find out what you're doing, don't leave your ticket and your passport lying all over the place.
But in Part 3 at the tube station, he is momentarily wrong-footed by the audacious gambit of Christie's Diana, only to recover himself almost immediately and join battle with gusto.
Keep it forward, it's kicking now, and the band's not enough. Makes a lot of promises, typical, when he's at his way.
You're not worth more than a bloody quid anyway.
I'm an honest working girl.
5 bob in the Walworth Road, that's about your bloody mark.
Bogarde's decision to join in the game on the tube escalator briefly suggests a reconciliation, but back in the flat, his bitterness and hurt overwhelms him as Christie hurls his beloved books across the room.
I've stuck it out just about as long as I can.
Yes, and just about as often as you can.
You're so faithful and so loving, aren't you? Look at this place, this rat trap. I'm not going to be a prisoner any longer.
So you're the prisoner, are you?
Yes! Prying in my life, looking in my handbag, spying on me.
Quickest way of getting to know you.
You never intended to stay here. You'd have done something with this place. Look at it. Books, my God. I hate books.
Stop that.
Oh, that gets to you, doesn't it? Anybody touching your books, they matter to you more than anybody.
This is a wonderful sequence, and one in which Bogarde effectively conveys both viciousness and vulnerability. I think that Schlesinger was misguided in his dismissal of it, and while not a masterpiece on the level of The Servant, Darling deserves to be rehabilitated as a little gem of 60s British cinema. Among Bogarde's performances, it is a prime example of one of his greatest skills, the ability to convey the emotion simmering behind a mask of sang-froid which only slips in extremis.